So I wanted to talk about the show The Polygamist, but before I get into that, y'all hold the phone. Y'all probably like, if this girl don't get it together, just give me a second. Don't go nowhere. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm putting my link in the chat. So I know y'all are my regulars, but some of you, I haven't worked. You and I haven't we haven't worked together yet. So I'm sending my putting my link in the chat so you can have an idea as to how to work with me and stuff like that in my different offers. So that's my link tree. So if you go on there, you'll find everything on there. I'm still going to be hosting a private class where I'm talking about the 4 frameworks of the Dark Feminine Activation Code. It's just a matter of there's some logistical things and stuff that I still have to take care of. So that's why I haven't taught the class yet, but it's definitely coming. And so those of you who are on here, you're already subscribers of mine. So, you'll get the emails and stuff and the updates as to when, the class is going to start. So, but anyway, y'all, I don't know who has seen The Polygamist. I don't know if you started watching it, how far, if you have watched it, how far you are. I have no idea. I really don't want to give out any spoilers. So I'm going to try my best not to give out too many spoilers, but I will probably end up giving out spoilers. So, but the thing is, I don't know about y'all, but I know for me, even if someone gives me spoilers, I still go and watch it as if I don't have the spoilers. Because what I like to do is I like to watch to see what happened up to whatever that point was. So, whatever that spoiler was, I like to watch the show to see it lead up to that spoiler, if that makes sense. So, so anyway, and then also, y'all, this is definitely interactive. I know you, those of you who are here, like I said, you're my regulars, so I know that you like to, you usually interact and stuff with me, and ask questions and comments and stuff. So keep that same energy. I'm gonna watch it when the kids sleep on. Have you started it yet? Just tell me in the chat if you've even started it yet. But this was such a great show, and the title, what I wanted to discuss today was keeping in line. Oh, almost started. It's with keeping in line with what I've been talking about this week, which is the survivor pattern that a lot of women, that we have, right? And everything is rooted in our survival, right? So I always talk about survival mode. And then in the quiz, and you'll be able to access the quiz if you go to my link tree. So on the quiz, it basically is giving you all of these different patterns, right? And it is where you have to write. So it's not one of those electronic quizzes where you go in and you start clicking. You have to actually write. So you can't type anything in. You have to actually sit down and write it out. It's not like a long paragraph or anything. It's just you're looking at the behaviors, and you're just you're looking at it to see, oh my god, is that me? Do I do this? Do I do that? Is this my pattern? Is that my pattern? So it's basically a quiz to show you what your pattern is and what pattern has been running your life. And then it's then you add it up. It gives you the score, and it also provides a guide for how to basically sort of disrupt it. But it's like I said, it's a quiz and a guide. But if you want to get deep into the work, then of course that's when you would have to book a session, right? But that's just to help you to kind of see, like, what your patterns are, right? And I know as humans, the brain naturally looks for patterns. So a lot of times it's hard for us to disrupt those patterns. So it takes work to do that. It's not just a mindset shift, it's actually in your body. So that's what we get into when we get heavily into the work, when you come into the container. So with that being said, go to my link tree so you can find everything there, including the quiz. I think the quiz is like the second thing on there. So it's real easy. You can just go right to it and, take the quiz. Now, with all of that, let's get back to the polygamist. So The women in that show, the main character. So we have Joyce Gamora, who was the wife. Then you have the side chick, Matipa, and then you have the other first wife, which is Elsie, Essie, yeah, Essie, and then you have Jonasi, because they're South African. I think it's pronounced Jonasi. Um, so basically this series is about I talk about the women and the things that they had to do in order to survive, because it was rooted in survival. See, we always think that survival mode has to do with being broke or being destitute. No, survival mode can look different in many different ways in areas of our life, right? For women, survival mode could look like they live in a pretty good, pretty decent middle class, life. The husband has a pretty good job, makes a good salary. She's able to stay home, and take care of the kids. But there's still things that she may not be able to do, things she may not have access to, because even though he does okay, um, there's still things that they may be lacking, that she may be lacking, right? Um, and so a lot of times for women, we'll see those things as, oh, we're broke, or we can't afford this, or we can't afford that. And, excuse me. So that can kind of look like survival mode, right? So basically what you're doing is you're doing all of these things in order to ensure your survival, even if you have to, um, you know, even if there's certain things that that you can't do anymore, you will sacrifice certain things because of survival, right? I'll use an example of myself. I remember it was some different things, activities and stuff that I wanted to put my children in, right? Now, at the time, their father, when we were married, at the time, he made a really good salary, right? So I was able to stay home and be with kids. But what I ended up doing was sacrificing certain things for myself, sacrificing my own aspects of my own happiness for the children. So if I knew that I wanted to put my daughter in, gymnastics or whatever, well, because I didn't have an income of my own, of course, I always had to go to him and be like, oh, she wants to take gymnastics, blah blah blah, right? And so I took it upon myself to say, well, if she's going to take gymnastics, then I'm not going to do this, right? So we get into the self-sacrificing, and everything is still rooted in survival, right? I think that women, we self-sacrifice for survival, um, for survival's sake, if that's a word, survival's stake. I think that makes sense. So so we start to, we display certain types of behaviors. Everything is rooted in that survivor pattern. So we end up sometimes making choices that aren't the best. Within that show, The Polygamist, a lot of the choices that Joyce was making at first was very much rooted in emotion, and she wasn't thinking clearly, but she was responding like that because it was out of survival, because she wanted her marriage to stay intact. She didn't want her image to be tainted, because she was a social media, she was like this big influencer. She was a brand, she had brand deals and everything. And so she didn't want that to be tainted because of the actions of her husband. So she was very much acting out in emotion. She wasn't thinking clearly, and she was just doing all of these things rooted in her emotions. She was angry, she was sad, all of the emotions you could come up with when you find out that your husband is cheating on you, right? So she's bursting into the office and just, I mean, doing all this stuff. But at its root, all of that is about survival, because number one, she doesn't want to taint her own brand. She was all about the optics, right? So it's like, how dare you make a fool out of me when you know that I'm this big influencer with brand deals and everything. I have all of these followers. They didn't say what her follower count was, but I'm just going to assume that it was somewhere in the millions, just because of her image and how it was portrayed in the show. So she had a reputation to uphold. and her husband going out cheating on her did not look good for her optics. So it's like, okay, what can I do to fix this? Right? So you out here acting a damn fool. I'm over here humiliating myself because I want my marriage to stay intact because I know what the optics looks like. Right? So I'm not even thinking clearly. Right? But I know that I have to keep my image intact. So even though you acting a fool, I'm gonna go over here and I'm still gonna make sure that everything is good on my end as far as my work, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and spin it. I'm gonna make it sound a certain way, or I'm just not. I think at first she didn't even address it. I think I'm trying to remember if memory serves me right. I don't even think she addressed it at first, but she was trying to keep her image from, like I said, from being tainted. She was trying to survive in this storm that her husband created, right? And then we take the side chick. I don't even say mistress because y'all know I've broken down what mistress really is. So she's not even she. Giving her the word mistress is actually a compliment. I wouldn't give that to her because she did not master anything. She was being a typical side chick, Matipa, right? But even her being the side chick, that was rooted in survival as well, because her thing was look for married men who have money and resources, and that's what she did. And she did that for her own survival, because a lot of times what women will do, side chicks who wield no power and don't know what they're doing, they are looking for a meal ticket. They're looking for a man to fund their life because they're too afraid to do it themselves. They don't even think that they can do it themselves. So it's always, I got to find a man with money and resources. I got to find a man with money and resources. So she's doing all of this to ensure her own survival, right? And then we have Essie, who was the so-called the first wife, and she was such a pick me, right? This man could do no wrong in her eyes. She knew he was cheating. She knew he was doing all this extra shit, and she still was just like, it was like he could do no wrong in her eyes, and she was actually always beefing with Joyce, right? And Joyce, and I also found it interesting is that everyone had this perspective of Joyce and how they thought she should be. Everybody had like a label. They didn't say it, but this is what I got from the psychological undertone of the show. Everybody had a label for her and how they thought she should be and act and perform and all that, because everything is performance. And she constantly did not live up to that, right? She wasn't responding the way they thought she should. She wasn't, all of these things. And so everybody always had something to say about it. Excuse me, y'all. Okay. So everybody always has some sort of issue or whatever about the way Joyce was responding to what was happening to her, right? And so like I said, we have Joyce, we have Matipa, and then we have Essie. So Essie, her way of ensuring her survival was to not reveal the secret that her daughter was okay. So her way to ensure her survival was they created in the early stages of the marriage, her and Jonasi, would you say Jonas, and his brother, oh God, Magish. Oh God, I don't want to mess these people's names up. I really don't. But they had a system. They made this deal, I guess, where she would pretend to be married to the brother, right? And so, but what happened was she already had a son. It wasn't Jonas's child, but she had a daughter with him. But they decided to tell this lie that the daughter was actually the uncle's daughter. And the daughter, Sarah, thought the uncle was her dad. No. Look, I'm getting this all mixed up. She knew who her father was. They had her keep the secret as well. This is a young girl having to keep the secret about who her father really is. So, anyway, they had this whole thing going on, right? But even with Essie being the way that she was, all of that was to ensure her survival, right? So she's like, I'm gonna go ahead and go along with this for as long as we need to. I'm gonna lie to my daughter. I'm gonna have, I'm gonna lie to, well, not the daughter, but I'm going to I'm gonna keep this lie going. And it was almost, to me, it was kind of like, I feel like Essie was kind of like on some, yeah, I like keeping a secret from Joyce, like I got one up on her, right? So that's the energy that Essie is giving, right? Like I said, all of this is to ensure their survival. And I said, even in one of the posts, I said that all of the women on there, all of their nervous systems were completely fried. So if we look at Joyce and all the shit that she was dealing with, then we look at Matipa and everything that she was doing. She thought she could wield power. She had absolutely no power, right? But because she was always, because this was her thing to do to ensure her survival, we're getting into that nervous system, right? Because if you're always looking for a man to fund your life, that means you don't feel safe. That is a pattern that has been created, and probably starting in childhood, because everything starts in childhood, right? And so there's a pattern that is created where you're always doing all of these little sneaky, underhanded things to ensure your survival, instead of just being real with yourself and knowing that, accepting that you're a grimy bitch, but now you can change it and do better for yourself. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep doing grimy shit. So that's the pattern that Matipa created. That's the pattern that she was running, right? And then Essie was like grimy too. And so the fact that and I thought that was very interesting. Another creator was talking about how Essie, she first fucked up when she saved Jonas from getting beat up when they were kids, because they had been on each other since they were young, right? They grew up in the same village or whatever, so they had been knowing each other since they were very young. And this creator was saying how Essie messed up, and she placed herself right into his karmic debt, when she helped him, and she fucked it up for herself, because once she did that, she was locked in. That cord, that ethereal cord was created, that karma that they created together, and she was right in the midst of it, just by helping him. Because you ain't supposed to do that. You are not supposed to help men. I'm sorry, women don't like to hear that, but you ain't supposed to do that. She was not supposed to intervene in that. If he was gonna get his ass kicked by those other dudes, and that's what would have had to happen, she was not supposed to save him, right? So so we look at these dynamics, and what we're seeing is that all of these women, like I said, they're trying to survive. Everything is about survival. Everything that women do, especially when it comes to dealing with men and relationships, everything is rooted in survival, because we live in a system where it's set up that way. Now, of course, again, y'all know always love to reference Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first three tiers is food, shelter, clothing, reproduction. Those things are all about survival, self-preservation. That's the key. That's the base. So women are constantly stuck in that base nature of survival, self-preservation, survival, self-preservation, right? They're always stuck there, and this is what they look for men to do. They're always looking for men to ensure their own survival. This is why you have stay-at-home moms that they don't work, they don't have an income, and they're looking for this man to basically fund their whole life. Like this, you're literally looking for this man to fund, to basically be in charge of your livelihood, right? So when we look at, these women that he was dealing with, so we had Joyce. Now, Joyce, she came from a wealthy family already. So the company that Jonas was running was actually, he came into it by her father. Her father brought him in. And so she already came from, privilege and wealth and stuff like that. Now, Essie came out of the poor village with Jonasy, and Matipa, I mean, we can kind of assume that she had a rough upbringing, right? Because why the fuck are you doing all this, right? So we look at these backgrounds of these women. And so, again, they're already coming from a nervous system that's already fried, a nervous system that already has a pattern of behavior of, I have to do all this grimy shit in order to survive, right? And then Joyce, on the other hand, she didn't have to do that. But by her being married to this man who she finds out is like this, first of all, Jonesy is a raving narcissist, okay? And for her to find out that her husband is doing all of this shit, then now it's almost like it sort of places her in the position of, damn, I gotta behave like these other women. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody around me is grimy. My husband, the women are the women that I know, the women that I'm in proximity to, they're all grimy. And it's like, here I am just wanting to maintain a happy home and family for myself and for my children. But everybody's grimy. So now I got to be on some grimy shit to a degree. But Joyce was a master strategist. I'm not going to give away too many spoilers because I'm trying to tell y'all that last episode, chef's kiss. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. It is like 22 episodes. So get into it. Um, so, but Joyce, we saw that she was a master strategist. There's another thing that she did. I feel like I need to talk about it, but I don't want to give it away. It'll be a major spoiler. Damn it. I'll just say there's a reason why he's called the polygamist. I mean, obviously he had Essie, right? And then Joyce, right? But the crazy thing is you don't even know that Essie is his wife until some episodes in. Oh, there we go, another spoiler. All right, that's the only spoiler I'm gonna give you. But you kind of could see it coming. If you think about the title and then you seeing his behavior, then you can kind of see it coming. Like, oh, okay. So when I realized that Essie was the actual official, I guess, first wife, excuse me, you could kind of see that that was coming. But the reason why she's not considered the first wife is because they're keeping up this facade that she's married to Jonas's brother, right? So by them keeping up that facade, you wouldn't even think that she's the first wife. So I thought that was interesting. But like I said, I don't want to give y'all too many spoilers. Go watch it. You gotta go watch it. But yeah. So Joyce, she's a man. It's another thing that she. Okay. Oh, dang! I wish I had saw this already. Dang it! Because there's a couple of things that Joyce did. You're gonna be like, okay, she's really badass. Like y'all gonna be like, yeah. You gonna be like Team Joyce. But yeah. So yeah. See, that's a lot. See, that's what I'm saying. That's why I ain't trying to give away too much. Because I'm trying to tell you, when you watch it, you're gonna be like, if y'all don't, like, you're gonna be mad at Joyce for a few times. You're gonna get mad just about the way she responds. You're gonna be really mad. Especially, I know for me, because I don't wear my emotions like that on my sleeve. Like, if, like, I'll just use my own story, right? I've had situations where, the guy was dating, found out he was, fucking someone, other chick, right? And I didn't blow up, right? I wasn't like, I didn't do any of that, right? I was just very much like, oh, okay, all right. Cause see, it's like I'm kind of stoic, and I've pretty much kind of always been like this. Um, my emotions are not for everybody to experience, and I've always been like that. And you would think, because I'm a water sign, people just assume water signs are just overly emotional and they're just very much respond emotionally. No, I've never done that, right? At least not that I can remember. Obviously, when I was a child, I mean, whatever. We have our emotional moments or whatever. But I'm saying, let me stick to, see, I think that's that ADHD, y'all. My daughter told me she think I got a little touch of some ADHD. So let me stay on topic. So once I found out that, he was dipping, right? The first thing I asked him was, I hope you was wearing a condom. That was the first thing I thought. And I mean, but I don't want to get too personal. I'll just say we always was, I didn't play that shit. I didn't play that not being protected. I didn't play that shit. So, but, I was just like, I hope you wore protection. And, you know, we're done. But I didn't go all crazy and, all the wild shit that you hear women do when they find out their man is cheating on them. Going up to the job and calling the girl, going through his phone, keying his car. I remember that happened to my cousin. Some girl found out about her and the dude, and the girl came and keyed her car. It was just this crazy shit. But I was like, why are you dealing with him anyway? Like, anyway. He ended up being her baby daddy. But anyway, so, yeah. So, I didn't. I didn't respond in that way. I was very much stoic and very much like, okay, you know, basically we're done, right? Because I'm not gonna deal with that. Because now that I know that you got some other chick that you fucking, I'm not about to allow you to bring anything home to me. I won't say home, but you know what I mean. So no, I didn't play that shit. But as far as like all that emotion and just all that, like I said, all that wild shit women be doing, I was never. I don't know. I've never been like that. So when you look at the show, you're gonna be mad at Joy sometimes because you're gonna be like, "The fuck are you thinking?" But see, she's not thinking because she's so emotional, and everything is being driven, and her responses is being driven by her emotions. It's like, no, Joyce, take a step back and let's think about this first before you do this. Don't just, you know, be a hothead and going off on the deep end like that. Let's take a step back. So, but you women, you know, women behave in this manner because of survival. I have to survive. Right? I can't allow my marriage to end. I can't allow this side piece to come in here and fuck up my marriage. So let me see what I can do in order to ensure the survival of my marriage, even if it's just for the optics. But then there's still this part of me that's like, damn, that's my husband. We've built a life together. I love him. He was like this great husband and father. We need to, you know, we need to work this out. Let's work this out. Let's, you know what I mean? So again, this is still rooted in survival, but it was the survival of her marriage, right? Because if your marriage, because you know we're given this narrative that if your marriage fails, then that makes you a failure. It makes you yourself an individual. It makes you a failure, and nobody wants to be seen as a failure. So I'm gonna do what I have to do in order to survive, in order to make my marriage survive. I'm gonna do everything that I have to do because I don't want to be seen as a failure. Plus, I'm literally, my career is literally all about image and optics. I'm out there. So I can't allow what he's doing to fuck up what I have going. Right? So there's a lot going on there. And then you know, and then Matipa, the side chick, you know, she is you know, it's so funny the way she was, excuse me, the way she was responding and the moves that she was making. She just kept, I was like, you, when you're watching this, you're like, honey, you wield no power. Like, what are you doing? Like, she really thought that he was going to leave Joyce. Now, he almost, it looked like, it appeared, and you'll see what I mean when you watch it, it appeared that he was going to leave her. But I'll just say that it appeared, right? But he was basically playing Matipa the entire time. Had her thinking that he was going to do all of these things, right? That he was going to leave. He was basically playing her, right? So, so, so she's doing all of these things, and she's walking around there as if she wields some sort of power, as if she can basically kick Joyce out and be wifey and like and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, this was such a typical side chick who has no strategy, who does not know how to move strategically. You just you just out here because you think you look good, and you know you're basing everything on your aesthetic, your beauty and stuff like that, and you think that alone is going to get you what you want. You think, you know, having sex with him and doing all this shit that you be doing, you think that alone is going to get you to rank higher than the wife who he's been married to for over 20 years. They got all these children, they've built a company and empire together. You honestly think that he just gonna leave her and just like, come on? And this is why I said this is very typical of side chicks who aren't strategic, right? And so she ended up, you know, I'll just say, dang it. All right. I was about to give you another spoiler. I can't even say this without giving you a spoiler. Damn it. Y'all got questions? Questions, comments? Somebody say something up in here. What y'all, what's up? Any questions? Comments? Anything? Okay. Well, so the show, like I said, was an excellent example of how women show up in these relationships and how they deal with the men that they're in these relationships with. The interesting thing with Jonas is that everybody around him was basically co-signing his bullshit, right? Even though, and they knew, like, especially his brother co-signed his bullshit for years, right? And when him and his brother kind of fell out, he was like, this was actually the best thing that could have happened to me, because basically I've been co-signing your bullshit for all of these years, and I'm tired, so we saw, you'll see the dynamic and how that turned out, right? But it made me think about, because I discuss narcissism as well, not in depth, but I will talk about it. But like I said, Jonas was a raving narcissist, and everybody around him was basically, like I said, co-signing his bullshit. So it was like, when we talk about narcissism, we talk about the shared fantasy, and everybody is pulled into this fantasy or this production, the theater. I call it the theater of cruelty. With the narcissist, he is the writer, director, producer, all of that, and everybody is pulled into this production, and it's really just about him. He's very grandiose, and everybody in the production is basically props, right? You just stand there, go over there, do this, co-sign my bullshit, and I'm gonna do whatever it is I want. I'm gonna harm people, I'm gonna be cruel, I'm gonna all this stuff I'm gonna do, because it's all about me, right? And this is very typical of a grandiose narcissist. I think he was actually a malignant narcissist. I think, yeah, it's even worse. He's a malignant narcissist. But yeah, so like everybody around him co-signs his bullshit, right? And even Joyce, like, her not leaving, or not really, like, she kept forgiving him and kept trying to make it work. And a lot of times with women, they'll say that because they're saying it because it's for the children. No, it's not. It's because you are afraid to be by yourself. You don't know what that's like. You're fearing the unknown of going through a divorce and all of the shit that's going to come along with that, the financial part of it, the emotional, everything that comes along with that. You don't want to deal with any of that, so you tell yourself, oh, I'm doing this for the children. In the meantime, the children are casualties of war, because that's what was happening to her son and her daughter, right? It wasn't, I mean, even her daughter was like, oh my God, would you please just end this, right? Dad is not, basically, she's like, you need to leave him. He's not cool. Like, he's not right. And you just keep staying with him. You just keep basically co-signing the behavior. By you not leaving and not doing what you need to do to end it, you are co-signing it. And her children saw that. And her son, but I think the wonderful thing is that her children and both of her children were still very, very supportive of her. It never, like, they didn't get to a point where they were just like, oh, I hate you and I'm leaving and like, it never got to that point. The relationship with both her children still stayed very much intact, right? Now, of course, they were having their issues, like I said, but it stayed intact, because even with all of that, they could still go to their mother, right? And feel like, okay, I can talk to my mother about this. I can tell her how I'm feeling and what this experience is like for me. And she's not judging me or making me feel bad, or she's not taking his side, you know? So I like how they did that, because it was almost like, okay, I know that I keep co-signing his behavior and everything, but I don't want you, I'm not expecting the two of you to do that. I know you're looking to me. I'm your mother, and you're looking to me like, what do I do with this? How do I respond? If mom is co-signing the behavior and constantly forgiving him, then maybe I should too, right? And so what I like is that she gave them space to be able to deal with it the way they felt that they needed to deal with it. Meaning, when the daughter left, because one night they was getting into this fight or whatever, and the daughter was like, well, I'm gonna go and stay at my friends, but like, her mother didn't give her the blues about it. She was like, okay, I get it. And then when the daughter left for school, it's not like she was trying to, well, the daughter was already gonna do that anyway, but Joyce, it wasn't how can I put it? It because of everything that she was going through, she didn't try to play some Jedi mind trick to make her daughter stay. Like, she's like, no, you go to school, go do what you have to do, get away from all this, right? She didn't try to hold her back. She understood that her daughter needed to get away and to go, go to school and do what she needed to do. So I really like how they wrote that, because we see so many situations where we see these types of marriages and stuff like that, and a lot of times, if the children want to leave, it's like, no, no, don't leave, we're a family and we're trying to blah 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 and work it out and all this stuff. No, it's like, no, you go to school, go be great, right? Don't stay within this toxic environment. Let me deal with it. And even her daughter felt like the daughter was very protective of her and was there for her emotionally. She was like an emotional support for her, and I love that. I really did. And even but the son is dealing with some stuff, right? He now, for him, because he's a male child, his anger and everything is going to show up differently, because as I always talk about, men have a untamed beast inside of them. So um, it's going to show up differently for that male child, but he was still there, very much there and supportive of his mother, right? Even though he would get angry with her for taking the father back, he was still very much supportive of her and there for her. So I like how they did that. um so but like I said, I don't want to give away too much. Y'all will see it. Go watch it. I'm telling you, it's such a great case study. That's why I wanted to talk about it today, because I saw this as a really great case study for the interpersonal relationship dynamics between men and women, and what happens when you know that your husband is cheating and the nigga got no intentions of stopping it. Not only is he not gonna stop it, he gonna throw that shit in your face. And that's basically what he did. And not only is he gonna throw it in your face, he gonna still come home and act a damn fool with you and think you're just supposed to just take that shit. The nerve. Fucking narcissist. If I keep cussing on here, I don't think YouTube is gonna upload my video. That happened to me before. Can you say the F word on YouTube? Because the thing with Substack, after you're done with your videos, they automatically upload it to YouTube. So I wonder, are they gonna, I don't know. Can you say the F word on YouTube? Y'all tell me. Do y'all know? Yes, 22 episodes, child. Go in. Okay, so what I did was I kind of binge watched it the first night. So I think the good thing is the episodes, it's not like they're like these hour-long episodes. I think the longest is like 35 minutes or something, so it goes pretty quick. So I binge watched the first night. It took me 2 days. Some people, I remember somebody I saw on Facebook, they watched that shit in a whole day. I'm like, how? All episodes in one day? That's crazy. See the world we live in? That's wild, y'all. But yeah, it took me 2 nights. So the first night, like I said, I binged. I can't remember how many episodes I binged the first night. And then the second night, I finished it up. So, but the first night I binged most of the episodes, I think. So the second night, I didn't have that many to go. But yeah, it's great. It was a great show. I mean, if you can get past the subtitles, because it's a South African cast, if you can get past because the thing that was kind of irritating me a little bit was, you got the subtitles because they're speaking in their native language, but even in their native language, they would switch up and mix it with English. And so you'd be like, okay, what are we doing? Are we speaking English? Are we speaking, like, what are we doing? So it kind of like, it was kind of messing with me a little bit at first, but I mean, eventually, I guess you get used to it. It's amazing what the brain can get used to. So you get used to it eventually, and then you just, So I'm trying to think. There was something else I want to talk. You guys have any questions regarding the show and relating it to Survivor, the Survivor pattern? Let's see. No, no questions, no comments, nothing, nothing about him being a narcissist, nothing like that. Okay. So anyway, there's you and so what it is we're looking at women, and then okay, the other because there's another chick. It's actually the supposedly best friend of the daughter. he was sleeping with her too. This Jonasi, this dude. But anyway, he's having sex with the daughter's friend, y'all. Is the shit is wild. Okay. So, but what it also is showing you is the women in here, they are operating from their wounded shadow, because you are totally operating in your shadow self when you are participating in these antics and presenting yourself this way as a woman. It's all rooted in your shadow. And you know me, I'm always talking about the shadow, doing the shadow work, shadow integration, right? So with Matipa, of course, she's jealous of Joyce. Essie is jealous of Joyce. This is why Essie wants to play along and play along with the lie. Matipa, of course, she's going to be jealous of the wife, right? And the wife is usually jealous of the side chick. There's always that shit going on. I don't think Joyce was jealous of Matipa, though. She really just saw Matipa as trash, as the adulterous Jezebel who interfered in her marriage. That's all she saw her as. Um, but you'll see how their relationship ends up, too. Again, I ain't giving no spoilers. Um, But all of these women are operating in their wounded shadow, right? Because as I always say before, most women don't understand how they don't have any idea of shadow integration, because most of the time women want to present themselves as being so self-righteous, right? Excuse me. But the feminine energy in and of itself is dark, period. You're dark first, then you know that self-mastery, you come into the light, right? But even that light is still the darkness is in there, because the darkness, everything starts in the dark, and the feminine energy is dark as fuck, right? So the jealousy that these women had, that's that shadow. The way that Joyce, the way she, being the strategist that we ended up seeing her be, that's rooted in her shadow, right? That was the shadow feminine. Um, but all of the women there are operating in that. Now, the 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 other daughter, that no one knew that was his daughter, Essie's daughter. Um, what I saw with her was the total narcissism, just like her father. Because when I was watching, I was like, she just like her daddy. She just like both of them, the mother and the daddy. Because Essie's a total narcissist as well. Um, so with her, she embodied that shadow aspect of her father, right? Because on one part, Essie's oldest son told her, "This ain't about you," right? They were going to some, I forgot, I think it was, Joyce and Jonas were renewing their vows, because they had to do it, because this was a part, they had already planned this before she found out about him cheating, because this was for her brand deals and stuff, right? So everybody's coming to the event, whatever, right? For the launch, I guess. No, the renewal of the vows, I'm sorry. And with Sarah, we looking at the wounded feminine, the wounded shadow feminine, because she's not able to be who she is. She's not able to be truthful and walk in the truth of I'm his daughter too. Instead, I have to participate in this lie. So on that part, we get it, but that still doesn't excuse her behavior. So she was grimy, just like her father. You'll see when you watch it. But the part that was interesting was Essie's first child, her son. He told her when they got to the event, because she was saying something, and he was like, "This ain't about you. This is not about you." And so I thought that was very interesting, because when she was talking, the first thing I thought was, "Why is this bitch making this about her?" And then right when I thought that, that's what he said. But that is that shadow feminine, and that shadow aspect of her father that she has absorbed, that she takes in, right? And then just like, and of course, like her mother. So we have all that going on. So the women are operating in their shadow feminine, but it's very wounded. And so what we see a great example of Joyce integrating it, but you'll see what I mean when when you get to the start getting closer to the end, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But Jonasy, right? um, he was operating in his shadow as well. Now, I always talk about how women outsource their shadow to men, right? And they want to experience their shadow through the men in their, like, if it's their husband or their partner, even their sons, right? They want to outsource their shadow. They want to experience it through that man. So I think that to a degree, the reason why Joyce kept forgiving him and kept trying to make it work, because she was, in a way, she was outsourcing her shadow to him, because she did not want to really have to go there, right? And we see that even though she was going there, but it was very much chaotic. It wasn't, it wasn't organized chaos. Right? So, like, I think an example of a woman when they find out that their husband is cheating on them, and I think an example of that shadow self, um, of her sort of like outsourcing it, right, is wanting to see, first of all, just kind of wanting to see, how can I put it, like, wanting to see like where the side chick lives, um, what she look like, what does her body look like. I wonder if she's good in bed. Is she better than me? Um, you know, all of those things. Like, women can get very, very deep and very dark with their thoughts. That's why I said that feminine is very dark. And there's even an aspect of voyeurism that could take place. I think for wives, they kind of actually want to see them in the act. This is all the shadow feminine. But it's also, instead of you embracing that, you're literally doing this, but you don't have an understanding as to why. You're not really aware, but your curiosity, you want to see what is it about her, right? um and then you find out he's cheating on you, but you don't say anything, and then when you're having sex with him, you're wondering, I wonder if he's thinking about her. Or, so these are the shadow aspects of women, right? It gets very dark. And I think that, when the wives are responding to the side chicks a certain way, it's to kind of see, well, first of all, what does she have that I don't? And if she's not totally ready to leave him, then she'll even want to take on certain aspects of the side chick, right? So maybe the side chick wears a certain color, maybe and then the wife will start doing it, right? It's so, when the women, there's so much, that dark feminine, that shadow is so, it's all encompassing. And I think women, that's why they run away from it. And I think that even with a wife finding out her husband is cheating on her, I think the husband doing that, because I always say men are also here to, they're like the catalyst to women doing that work on themselves. But I think that when they see that their husband is cheating, I think the cheating husband and the side chick both are there to awaken that shadow. It is there to show you that you got work to do. It's not even about, oh, you couldn't keep your marriage together. No, this is showing you that you have work to do, because like I said before, women love to hide. So they love to put on this facade that they have this wonderful marriage, and and he can do no wrong, and everything's great and wonderful. And then you find out that that's not the case. And I think that's most marriages. Most people are performing. Most marriages are not happy. Excuse me, no matter what the optics are. Most of them aren't happy. And so when women find out that their husband is cheating on them, it's like this, damn. Like, it's like this, it's like a major blow to her ego. And we saw that with Joyce as well. It was a blow to her ego. That's why she was flying off the handle and just acting out of pure raw emotion, because her ego was wounded. This is what women feel when they find out their husband is cheating on them. That's that wounded ego, right? So, and instead of taking a step back and being very strategic in how you respond and what you're going to do, women just act on emotion, just pure raw emotion. You got to take that and transmute it. I get being pissed and angry and all of that. Like, yes, have those feelings, but do something with them, right? So, I actually think that finding out that your husband is cheating on you is an opportunity for shadow work. As crazy as that sounds. But I think it's an excellent opportunity for shadow work to dive deep into the abyss because it's showing you something. It's like we and yes, of course you want to take it personal. You are going to take it personal, but I think that's just the base level of it. You take it personal first, but then you see, damn, I think this is an opportunity for me. This is an opportunity for me to work on myself. This is what happened. This is what he did. This is what he did. This is what him and the side chick are both showing me, right? So let me go do the work. So he can keep doing whatever it is he's doing with her, and I'm gonna do the work. I think that's a great opportunity for that. And like I said, as crazy as that may sound, that's that's what I think. So it was an opportunity for Joyce to do the work on herself. And I think that when I said earlier how everyone had this perspective of her and how they thought she should respond and how she should behave and all of that, and she was showing them the opposite of that, right? It was like they thought she was just like this bougie, whatever, and she let them know, like, nah, we can be on some gangster shit too. Like, I can do that too. And so, but hers was very much strategic and very subtle, and it was the very quiet feminine. The feminine is so powerful when she's quiet and she's like making those moves very quietly. That is so powerful. And so there were parts, where Joy showed her ass, but yeah, it was very much an opportunity for her to get to know Joyce. Who am I? Like, who am I in this experience? Like who am I? How did I get here? Right? And it's not about blaming yourself or anything like that. Like, I don't buy into that. Oh, that's your fault because they're mirroring you. Okay, I don't buy into that shit. Yes, there's mirroring that's going on, but it's not about you being hard on yourself or blaming yourself because you don't have control over what that man does with that thing in his pants. You don't have no control over that. So it's it was an opportunity, like I said, for her to really dive deep into who she is. Who's Joyce? Right? How did I get here? What lesson is this? What is this showing me? Right? And we saw her go through that. You see her go through that. So I think that with women, that wounded shadow and the situations you find yourself in and the way you're responding to it, I actually think that that's a type of shadow work as well, but you don't realize that that's what's going on because it's not intentional. You're not being intentional with that work. You're not being intentional with that shadow integration, right? So it's like I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm jealous, I'm all of these things, and I know that I feel those things. I know that that's what it is, but instead of me taking that and transmuting it and understanding myself and why I'm exhibiting these behaviors and why I'm responding this way, I'm just gonna go be operate off of raw emotion, and I'm just gonna go over here and I'm gonna run into the job and I'm gonna do all this wild shit that women do. Even within all of that, I always say that there's always shadow work going on. It's just that you have to be intentional about it. You don't know that that's what's going on, if that makes sense. This is something that actually just came to me, though, y'all. Oh, I won't say just came to me. I've been kind of thinking about it for a little while, but I really think that that's what that is. It's always going on. When we say that people need to do the work on themselves, for me, I'm saying it from a space of being very intentional, not just, you know, doing it, but there's no order to it. There's nothing like just being jealous of a woman, right? you know that you're jealous of her, because what else could it be? So instead of you understanding that and trying to figure out and trying to unpack it and integrating it, you just act on it. That's work. That's still work. So you act on that jealousy. You might do some, whatever sort of grimy shit that you do to act on the jealousy. That's still work. So it's intentional shadow work and there's non-intentional shadow work. Yo, that's bars, y'all. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna post that. There's intentional shadow work and there's unintentional shadow work. Right? So the intentional shadow work is all about self-awareness. It's all about diving deep. As I always say, diving the abyss, getting to know the core identity. Who are you? Why are you here? Why did you have this experience? What am I learning? What is this teaching? Let's unpack this, right? And then there's an unintentional, I'm a jealous, vengeful bitch, and so I'm gonna go do all this other shit. It's still work. It's unintentional shadow work because you are operating in your shadow. You're operating in your wounded shadow feminine. So this is why I tell people, when people be talking about their light workers, as a woman, there's no such thing as a light worker. You're a woman. You're the feminine. You're dark as fuck. There is no light work. Now, there's other work that you can do that would be like, you know, I guess light work would be, I don't know, meditation and affirmations, I guess, to speaking your intentions, right? I guess that would be light work. What the hell is light work anyway, y'all? I don't honestly, because I operate so much of dealing in I understand who I am as a feminine and how I am dark already. And so everything that I do, any sort of intention that I set for my life, any type of manifestation or whatever, is still coming from the dark. I don't even know what a light worker is, because to me everything starts in the dark. So I guess, like I said, a light worker would be, I don't know, meditation, but you could be meditating on, you know, on some dark shit. I don't know, like the dark arts. I don't know. Um, like I said, affirmations. I guess, is that light work? Is that like being a light worker? Um, well, I guess maybe if you're doing like a protection ritual over your children, I guess that would be considered being a light worker. I mean, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that's why I don't buy into the whole light worker. I think that's some bullshit. Um I think that's just another way to keep women from really diving deep into the darker aspects of themselves. That's what I think the whole light worker thing is. I think it's a scam. It's a psyop. Light working is a psyop. But so that show, The Polygamist, gosh, I wanted to give away so much more, but I would be giving y'all way too many spoilers. I think I might do a part 2, and that way y'all will have watched it, or at the very least watched most of it. Then I could do a part 2. And the part 2 can really dive deep into the moves that Joyce was making, why she made those moves, how did she get to that point? Because she was definitely diving again into that dark feminine. That's what, for women, that's what strategy is all about. It is all about the darker aspects of the feminine. It's that primordial energy, which is what she was operating off of. Um, And so I think that, a part 2 would be good to just kind of dive deep more into, Joyce and how she got to that point. Um, and then even with the husband, Jonas, he's he is the wounded masculine. Um, we get a little bit of his childhood, but, the thing that gets me though, right, when Essie helped him, it's like, if we're or okay, so their father wasn't shit, right? So we have that. Okay, so we got that father wound. They didn't really talk about his mother, so I don't know what that relationship was. They didn't really, I don't think they talked about their mother at all, actually. But I always say that males have a mother wound anyway. All males have a mother wound. I'll get into that another day. But they all have it. But he has that father wound, right? And then whatever sort of rough childhood he was going through. Again, they didn't dive too deep into it, but we did see him as a teenager, I guess. Maybe he was around 16 or 17 years old. And he was like dealing with the dudes in the village, fighting and all that stuff. But that's the hierarchy of males. This is what males do. They're always testing each other. They're always looking for weakness. And instead of Essie staying out of that, she put herself in it. And this is what a lot of women do. And especially with their sons. Women are always trying to protect their sons from the male hierarchy. But you can't really do that. You have to allow your son to deal with that. What you can do is help prepare him. Make sure he has the skills and the tools that he needs to in order to be able to deal with the male hierarchy. One of the skills is combat. Put him in martial arts, right? Help him really cultivate that. It teaches discipline, but it also teaches you how to defend yourself when you need to, right? And so these are ways that you prepare your sons. You don't just jump in the middle of it. What is that doing? That's not teaching him anything. All that's showing him is that, oh, a woman is always going to rescue me. If it's not my mama, it's going to be the woman I'm with. This is what you're teaching your boys when you constantly intervene in the male hierarchy, when you're intervening in boy world, as I'll call it. Right? So we have Jonas, um, like I said, he was the wounded masculine. Um, he, and especially being narcissistic. I always say that narcissism in the male is the beast. Um, so, and they're all narcissistic, but that's another day. If you want to get more into that, you got to go see my girl, Reverend Sahaja. She gets very heavily into that. She breaks down narcissism and its narcissistic paradigm that we live under. I mean, she goes deep and it makes so much sense and explains a lot. But that wounded masculine, and already coming here as the male child, they already come here with certain impediments. So when you add that father wound on top of it, when you add that mama is always coming to the rescue, in that when you don't prepare them for life in the male hierarchy, it shows up by way of him being fucking everything that he sees. Like, always, he was always trying to get off, even if like on one scene Joyce was like, nah, and so he grabbed his lotion and did what he had to do. Like, always needing to unload. And that is the wounded masculine, right? The wounded shadow masculine. Because anything that has to do in the realm of sex and sexuality, that's in the realm of the dark. That's dark. It's very spiritual. It's very charged emotionally. There's a lot going on with sex. That's the most powerful energy between humans, like on the planet. Sexual energy is the most powerful. Well, people say love is. Love is a frequency. There's power there, but um, sex is for. I mean, well, they say sex sells. I mean, it's all about sex. Everything is about sex. Men and women are always having sex, even when you're not in physical active intercourse. You're still having sex. It's always there. So, him, like I said, the wounded masculine. So when you add all of these things onto him, he's going to have a hard time. And like I said, it's going to show up by way of him constantly needing to unload. It was like watching him. It was almost like watching like how these like pornos, I guess. What? No, okay. I won't even say pornos. Like well, I guess porn. Look, now y'all be thinking I'll be watching porn. I don't. I don't. But it kind of made me think of like a porno. Like, like in porno movies, isn't it a thing like as soon as a man and a woman meet, they just start having sex like right then and there? I'm assuming there's some aspect of that. It was kind of like that. Not saying that it was pornographic because it wasn't, but it was almost like those type of storylines. Like, I remember this channel. I don't think it exists anymore. It's called Cinemax, and it used to have this channel called Cinemax After Dark. It was basically softcore porn. It was so weird when I first came across it because I used to have when I was young, I had cable TV in my room, but I wasn't watching like no crazy shit or anything. Like I wasn't, I was young. I had cable. I was watching TV, whatever, watching my little shows, my series or whatever. But I had like all the channels. So I'm flipping through the channels. I come across Cinemax After Dark. I was like, Cinemax After Dark, and it was softcore porn. And so it's like burned in my brain. And it was like the dude and the girl, I think it was like where she worked at like a restaurant or something. I don't know. But it was like right after they met, they was like getting ready to have sex. I was like, what the hell is this? And so I started changing the channel, right? But that's way off on the tangent. But the point I'm making is that's kind of like how it was with Jonas. It was crazy. Like you'll see what I'm talking about. You're like, dang, like every woman you meet, are you serious? And they just win it like that. It's wild. So, but that's the wounded masculine. That's how he shows up, right? He's either showing up by way of finding a hole to unload in, or he's very violent, right? So, and in Jonas's case, he exhibited both. But yeah, so like I said, when you don't prepare your sons for the male hierarchy, it shows up like that. And I think that that's what we're seeing with men in the world, the males. We see that wounded masculine. That's what that is. And they're not taught um how to transmute that energy, right? Because when we're getting into the sexual energy, like I said, that's very powerful, but the sexual energy is actually governed by the feminine. So think about that. you know Sex and intimacy is very feminine. So as a man, when you don't understand that and you think because of that thing in your pants that you're the dominant force and all of this stuff, not understanding that sex and sexuality is governed by the feminine. That is the feminine energy, right? Everything is feminine, right? So that is the feminine energy. So when you're diving into that, even when you're having sex as a man, you're diving into the abyss, right? Literally and figuratively, spiritually, all of that. Because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to come back with, as they say, when we're dealing with sex magic and stuff like that in the occult, you're supposed to be gaining gnosis. You're supposed to be gaining knowledge from that. Because the portal, a woman's portal, her womb, ancient knowledge is there because we carry mitochondria DNA. So that's one of the things that you should be doing as a man. But it's supposed to be sacred between the two of you. It's supposed to be that sacred connection, and she's supposed to know that about herself, right? So when you're getting into that, that is very feminine and is very dark and is very highly spiritual, and the sexual energy is very powerful. It's very potent. And so people just be out here just doing it and they don't even truly understand the power behind it. And and because we live under the system that we live under, it's all about reproduction, because we need more cogs in the machine. All of the power and everything that you're really supposed to get from that has been taken away, and it's coming down to just this animalistic, just having sex for reproduction. There's no, and even within that, but you're still contracting with this person. Even if you're not coming in it with the mindset of it being very sacred, it doesn't take away from the result of it. Whether that result is a child that you created or whatever that, or the what took place over in the ethers by you having sex, because something is being born, something is being conceived. So whether y'all are coming together with the knowing already in that sacred energy and you're bringing that together, or whether you just fucking, there's still something being conceived. So, I think I went off on a tangent again, but anyway, actually, I don't think I did, because when you look at the show, you can see how unserious sexual energy is. It's very much animalistic. It's not, and I say because it's not sacred. It's not, the spiritual aspect of it isn't there. But then again, it is there. The two people involved just don't know it, because they're only doing it to get off, right? So that's very prevalent in that we're not seeing the sacredness of it because of how he is indulging in it and how the women are allowing him to indulge, right? The women are clueless. They don't even understand who and what they are and understand that sacred energy that they carry. And they're just sharing it with this dude. And he's dominating it. And this is the norm in sex, right? So it's a good show. You should definitely go check it out. Any questions? Questions. Give me some questions. That's what Bobby Hemmings used to say. Give me some questions. Comments, comments. No? Okay. So anyway, as I stated earlier when I first came on, I was talking about I put my link in the chat. I do have a private class coming up, as I said before. So you guys on here are already subscribers, so you'll be getting all of the updates and stuff. If you haven't visited seen any of my offer suite, like I said, I put my link in the chat, but it's also in the bio. You want to go visit, see what I have going on over there. All of my different offerings. Again, the one-on-one container is always open. Well, not always, but it's open right now. I have some slots open right now. And also, the free, you get your free discovery call so we can see if the container is even right for you. And then I also have my other, I have that dark decode your shadow quiz. It's doing really, really well. Like, a lot of women are loving it. So it's helping you to see what pattern is running your life. And there's it's the quiz, and there's a guide to kind of help you to kind of see where you are, and some pointers on how to, sort of disrupt that. But if you want to get deeper and deeper into that work, then that's when you'd have to book a session. So anyway, yeah, so go over there, check me out, see what I have going. And if anybody has any questions about any of the offers, the one-on-one container, anything like that, don't hesitate to, you can DM me right here on Substack, and and we'll get into it. So I hope you all enjoyed my commentary here on the polygamist. I think I need to do a part 2. So go watch it. I'm gonna give y'all a week. See, I'm being generous. I'm not just gonna give you a few days. I'm gonna give y'all a week. Go watch it, and then I'm gonna do a part 2. So I think that's it. And like I said, I hope you ladies enjoyed this. And I am getting ready to go take a nap. So, all right. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.